Joining us now for her perspective on the conduct is Sidney Powell, the star attorney in the case of General Michael Flynn. So, Sidney, it's a real pleasure to have you on this program. I first want to start by touching on the current ongoing case regarding General Michael Flynn. Of course, we know that the DOJ was moving to dismiss that case, but Judge Sullivan, the judge overseeing that case, recently has been saying that he doesn't want to do so outright. He wants to get more information. So can you give us an update on that?
Yes, he's already gotten all the information he can possibly ask for. He's really limited to the face of the government's pleading. Its motion to dismiss was filed back on May 7th. So it's been 160-some days now since the government moved to dismiss this case. It's an unprecedented delay. And the proceeding he conducted was equally unprecedented, including his seeking his own petition for writ of the rehearing en banc from the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals that led to it being reheard and sent back to him for further hearing, despite the original panel having told him he had to go ahead and dismiss it. So there's been one unprecedented move in violation of the rules from the inception of this case, starting with the FBI and then the special counsel operation, and now the courts themselves have broken all the rules to try to continue the persecution of General Flynn. We're still waiting on his dismissal that the law absolutely requires him to enter with prejudice, but the delay has been insufferable.
And it is also problematic for a lot of people, the sense that there's really not a prosecutor in this case. I mean, the DOJ essentially wanted to drop it and say that they didn't want to pursue anything else against Michael Flynn, and the judge almost took it within his own hands to say, you know what, we are going to appoint someone in order to at least give the other side of this. And I think it is a very unprecedented step as you were taking, and one that complicates the whole just perception of this case to begin with, because you bring up the FBI, and a lot of people say that we shouldn't even be at this case where we're talking about the judge in this, because the very inception of their investigation into General Michael Flynn was without merit. I mean, from the day that those FBI agents went and talked to him initially, they're saying that that was illegal to begin with. In fact, that's the Justice Department's own words that they're using. So does this shed light not only on the court system that you're currently going through right now, but the conduct of the FBI more broadly?
Yes, it raises a number of concerns about the conduct of the FBI more broadly, and the fact that we now have the Hunter Biden laptop issues and the FBI apparently having done nothing with that stunning evidence since December 2019 just tells us that the problems that existed that led to the betrayal and persecution of General Flynn, a completely wrongful prosecution, still exist within the FBI today. And why Christopher Wray has not yet been fired is beyond my comprehension. He should have been fired weeks ago, but certainly since all of this has come out and we know the FBI's had it all this time, there should have been immediate prosecutions as a result of that, and it blew the heck out of any impeachment allegations with respect to the president's phone call with Ukraine, simply asking them to look into concerning facts. Now we know there was abject corruption with the Bidens paying to play and Ukraine paying them to play. Astounding revelations.
And I'm glad you brought up the Hunter Biden email, because you're exactly right. Dating back to December, that's when the FBI claims that it first got its hands on this information. But since then, there's been an impeachment where this fact pattern would have been very much so useful during that whole saga. Joe Biden entered the presidential race, and a lot of people are asking, why wasn't this information important to know about a presidential contender? I mean, and now we're talking about the laptop itself and the FBI kind of saying that they won't say anything for that matter. I mean, I know that the FBI doesn't like talking about ongoing investigations, but it seems like there were several moments where, to some degree, they should have stepped up at some point. Robert Mueller did at one point even to say that a BuzzFeed article was incorrect. So is it that out of line, for example, the FBI to come forward and speak about any of these matters, or do you think they should?
I think there should have been indictments way back by January of 2019. I think the failure of the FBI to move quickly on this information has affected the course of history in this country, both with respect to the way it handled General Flynn, which adversely affected the course of history, and now they've done it again with respect to Mr. Biden and his son. And this was about Joe Biden's corruption and ability to be leveraged by all of these governments, as much as it was about Hunter Biden's graft and misconduct on all of the issues that are revealed in the emails and on the laptop that we still don't even know about.
And Sidney, even for the sake of transparency, there is something to raise an alarm about here because, for example, when we talk about John Durham's investigation and the origins of the Russia investigation itself, Joe Biden is a major player in that. I mean, according to their own notes taken by the FBI, we know that he's one of the first individuals, if not the first, to bring up the idea of using the Logan Act, something that is never used, against General Michael Flynn. And then throughout that process as well, we do see that perhaps Joe Biden had more knowledge than many people initially thought, not to mention the fact that he's considering former Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates to take over a part of his cabinet position. So, I mean, there are so many things that we still have answers to, but do you fear that we won't get those answers if a Biden presidency does happen after November 3rd and they have the ability to quash this type of investigation?
Oh my goodness, we must reelect President Trump on November 3rd. There must be a massive outpouring of support for restoring America to its foundational principles if we want this republic to survive at all. All of this corruption and the investigations of it will go away. The corruption will resume tenfold if Biden were elected, and it would simply license the very worst of everything we've seen so far to be magnified.
And of course, we are still waiting on the Durham report. And a lot of people are, if there is going to be a report, I should say, we're still waiting on Durham developments, which I guess we're not going to get until after the election. And it's unknown if we're ever going to get a report at all. That may just come in the form of indictments, but that still tells a story within itself to some degree. But I remember back in May, for example, Attorney General Barr said that he would not be investigating such people such as former President Barack Obama, former Vice President Joe Biden. But now we are getting more information about this laptop. And we're starting to see that the FBI did have this information about Joe Biden dating all the way back to December of 2019. Is it possible that Attorney General Barr did not know about this substance, or that the FBI wasn't maybe telling him about it before he made that announcement? What do you think is going on there?
Well, I think it's entirely possible he did not know about it. Frankly, given what he said, I hope he did not know about it from the perspective of wanting to trust Attorney General Barr. Because if that information were known to him, it should have been prosecuted last year. It should have been prosecuted in early 2019. We shouldn't be in this position now. And if Wray didn't tell him, that's simply another reason for Wray to be fired. I can't even tell you how concerned I am about this entire situation and the failure of our government to deal with it.
And I know that I've talked to a lot of conservatives who say the very same thing. They're sick of being told to wait for the next report, wait for that next hearing, just wait until Lindsey Graham does something. I mean, they're so sick of being told that. At some point, they do want answers for these things that at this point seem like blatant misconduct, not only by the individuals who are being investigated, but by the Bureau itself. And it does paint a bigger image of what the FBI is currently doing. You bring up Christopher Wray, but I mean, we could go back to Horowitz. We could go back to all these Inspector General reports, things where they said, you know what, it wasn't done by the book, and there might have been some things that were illegal, but you know what, we're going to do a slap on the wrist. I mean, so many people have heard that for so many years at this point. Do you trust the FBI?
Absolutely not. There is no way I could trust the current FBI. There's no way I could trust Christopher Wray or any of the people that are running the show there now. This is proof positive of that. There has been a double standard for a long time. Don't think for 2 seconds if it were Don Jr. or Eric Trump or Ivanka Trump, whose notebook computer had been found, it would have been put through the scrutiny with a fine-tooth comb. Mm-hmm. Allegations would have been everywhere. All the information would have been revealed. They would have been indicted immediately, and they'd already be in jail convicted.
Yeah. No, and I think
so. People are sick of this, absolutely fed up and sick of it.
No, and I think it's one of those things, too. I mean, right now in the age of Trump, so many people want to be anti-Trump that they take positions that are nonsensical to some degree. And I think that this is actually one of those positions that should go across party lines. I mean, we do not want our nation's top law enforcement being politicized and being able to launch these types of investigations without merit against political actors that they don't necessarily like. I mean, yes, right now it is President Trump and his family, but someday it could be someone else in power who doesn't like the Democratic president or anything like that. And even then, I would say that it's absolutely wrong for the FBI to have this type of power and conduct these investigations in the manner that they're doing. So I appreciate you shedding light on this issue because I think it's an important one for the average American, not just those that are in power or anything like that. And I think it's one that we should get answers to, and hopefully this doesn't get quashed after November 3rd. But Sidney Powell, I really appreciate you coming on the program tonight, breaking down this issue. Thank you.
Thank you.